Usually Friday night injuries aren't too important because we're going to have all day Saturday. And then we can make those decisions on Sunday morning of who we're going to be sitting or starting. Well, now we have 3 games on Saturday, and you may be in a spot where if you're having to roll a dice that one of these guys is going to go on Sunday or not, maybe you just play your guy on Saturday instead. So let's go ahead and let's dive into pretty much all the injury updates that we have as of 10 p.m. Central Friday night. Starting off with Geno Smith, did get in another limited practice on Friday. Sounds like Geno Smith is most likely going to be playing this week, especially if you look at underdog pick'ems. If you look at Las Vegas sportsbooks, if you look at a multitude of different things, they are saying that the Seahawks should be competitive here. Now, Hollywood, Michael Wilson are still both listed as questionable. I'm operating under the assumption that Hollywood Brown will be good to go coming off the bye week. Now, Brandon Cooks is going to be expected to play. Not super excited to play him, however. Noah Brown is expected to play. Tyler Higbee, no longer listed on the injury report, good to go. Dalton Kincaid, no longer listed on the injury report, good to go. Taysom Hill, Rashid Shaheed, no longer listed on the injury report, good to go. Jamal Williams is questionable. Amari Cooper, not listed on the injury report, good to go. Now, Chris Olave has not been practicing this week, which is obviously concerning, dealing with an ankle injury. And Chris Olave looks to be a game time decision. Now, if you're going to go ahead and look at when the Saints are playing this game, this is when things just get a little bit hairy here, in that the Saints are going to be playing at noon on Sunday. So if you're looking at Chris Olave versus a solid option like Courtland Sutton for tomorrow night, you probably should just go ahead and play Courtland Sutton, given the fact that even if Olave does play, you potentially have to be a little bit concerned about what you have with his full ability to go out there and run all his routes. Now, Christian Watson going to be doubtful. Do not plan on Christian Watson. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon are both questionable. While you have had Aaron Jones at practice this week, you've had no A.J. Dillon. I'd rather avoid both running backs if we can. Isaiah Pacheco underwent shoulder surgery, is out for week 15, but could potentially return week 16. DJ Moore is going to be playing this week. Nico Collins will not play. CJ Stroud will not play. And this is why I don't really care if Noah Brown's going to be good to go or not. If you have no CJ Stroud, you're not playing anybody in Houston. I don't care if you're a running back, a tight end, a receiver. Maybe if you were ever going to make an argument for someone in Houston, it would be Dalton Schultz. But the reality of the situation is I'd rather just not play anybody here. And I do kind of luck out because in those underdog high stakes drafts that I'm currently in, a lot of people in our brackets have Nico Collins. I do not. So, I mean, we're starting off strong in those underdog high stakes tournaments. Looks like we'll have another profitable year on underdog. Now, Brian Robinson is ruled out week 15. You can start Antonio Gibson. Dalton Schultz going to play. Chris Godwin will be a game time decision. And then I'm sure most people already saw this, but Brandon Staley has been fired. Last thing is Tyreek Hill, still questionable. We do not have the clarity. Unlike Olave, I would say regardless of the health of Tyreek Hill and his ankle, if Tyreek Hill plays, you go ahead and you play Tyreek Hill. But I hope that we are able to help you out with that, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and pull up our questions here. And as I get these up, let me remind you, if you have not done so already, please go down there. Drop a like on this live stream. I mean, it helps us out a ton. And if you wanted to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK. You're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And I will show you one thing. If you're new to Underdog with code FLOCK, you also get Lamar Jackson more than less than half a total yard for Sunday night. But beyond that, I know you're going to like me for that one. What you're not going to like to hear is my favorite pick'em this week. I hate to say it. I know y'all are going to hate hearing it. Keaton Mitchell for fewer than 9.5 rushing attempts. Keaton Mitchell's in a 3-man running back by committee, and he has had 0 games in his NFL career with 10 or more rushing attempts. In my mind, it's kind of crazy that they have his higher lower at 9.5. I'm slamming the lower on 9.5 rushing attempts for Mitchell. Now, ATS says 10-team full BBR single flex. Who are we going to start? Allen, Etienne, Gibbs, Hill, Kupp, Kelsey, Pollard. And then on the bench, Wilson, Judy, Jefferson, Lawrence, Kincaid, Charbonnet, Goff, and JT. So we're going to keep it as is. If we were going to make any swaps, it would be getting Justin Jefferson in there. I think we're going to be starting Jefferson over Cooper Kupp if you're a little bit worried about the larger sample that you've seen with Kupp. Outside of that, I think everything stands about the same. I mean, with Jefferson, I was going to be really worried to tell anybody to start him going into this weekend until we had him cleared on like Wednesday. I thought he was going to be a game time decision where it was going to be a tough spot. Even if he would play, maybe you'd only see 60% of the snaps or whatever. No, I mean, he was cleared so early in the week that I'm completely confident in starting Jefferson. Now, given how good the matchup is for Cooper Kupp, though, I completely understand if you wanted to go Kupp over him. Now, Jared says start 2 running backs in a flex. Henry, Mixon, Walker, Connor, Chandler, and McBride. We're going to go with Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and Kenneth Walker. Ty Chandler should see every single snap out of his backfield, but he's Ty Chandler. And James Conner is a very tough matchup going up against the Niners. Dan says, hey, Mason, in a running back, hell. Have BBR, need a running back in a flex. Jones, Ford, CEH, Keaton, Lockett. Also, pick up Browning and drop Russ. I'm projected to lose by 13. Thank you, my friend. I'm wishing you the best of luck, my man. You know that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did split pretty much 50-50 with McKinnon this past week. Not super excited to go in his direction. I would probably go with Ford and Aaron Jones now that you have A.J. Dillon banged up as well. But I don't know. That is the toughest spot. And Jayan coming out saying, I met Arch Manning today and y'all didn't. Yes, my man. That is, I need to hear the story behind that. You got to let me know the story behind that. That is incredible, my man. Really, really happy for you. Now, Eclipse says we have Brown, Ayuk, Jefferson, Kyron, Kamara, Zeke, James Cook, Breece Hall. Who should be my 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex in a full PPR format? Our wide receivers are going to be going Brown, Ayuk. Our running backs are going to go Kyron, Kamara, and our flex in a full PPR format. I will go ahead and take Justin Jefferson. Like I said, I would have been more concerned about Jefferson if he wasn't cleared so early in the week. Now, Freaking Fantasy Football says JT out. We have Etienne, Moss, Zeke playing 2, which 2? We're going to go with Etienne and Moss just because how bad the offense is in New England. But I do have Zeke in a $1,000 underdog draft, so really am hoping that Zeke comes through for us. But I don't know if we're playing him over the guys in good offenses. Michael says, hey, Mason, PBR flex need upside. Agent, Sutton, or McBride. Should we start the Titans defense over the Falcons given the injury news? You have no Tank Dell, no Nico Collins, no CJ Stroud. So yeah, if you wanted to go start that Titans defense, I would be completely fine with that, my friend. And if we are chasing upside, I'm going to go ahead and take Devon Achane. Obviously, we can say that you have a higher floor, however, with someone like Cortland Sutton. But maybe if you started Eckler and your opponent went with like the Raiders defense and we are really shooting for the stars, I think Achane has a higher ceiling. Alex says Thomas Waller or Frymuth for tight end. We're going to most likely go with Logan Thomas. I mean, Darren Waller could be viable, but I'd rather see him before we have to believe it. Now, Jesse says, have BBR 2-2-2. Deontay, Douglas, Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the second flex. I'm going to go ahead. I will take Deontay Johnson in a full PBR. I mean, if you really wanted to go CH, you can. My thing is with CH, you're splitting with McKinnon, and it's not a great matchup. You're not a good running back. I'd probably just take Deontay Johnson. And then between Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, if it is a 4-point passing touchdown format, I'm just going to go ahead and take Kyler Murray in the rushing upside. Now, Robert says, likely JSN, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Dotson, or Dowdle for the flex. Thanks. No, thank you, my friend. And this is the range where, yes, we will go ahead and we'll roll the dice with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Elias says, I have an ugly question. Can you pick 3 of these guys in case Tyreek or HN miss? Zay Jones, Taysom, McLaurin, Deontay, JSN, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Thank you again, bro. No, thank you, my friend. We are going to be going with McLaurin, Deontay, Clyde Edwards-Helaire if you have no Tyreek and HN. Zay Jones did have 14 targets last week. I would be a little bit more excited about Zay Jones if it wasn't for the very tough matchup that we have going up against the Ravens this week. Asian Artifacts, Congrats again for the big win last night, my friend. Got a tough call this week. Start 2, Saquon, Brees, Zeke. Also, Stafford or Fields. Stafford's been on fire for the past 3 weeks. Yeah, Stafford's been great, and it's a phenomenal matchup going up against Washington here. So I'm actually going to go Stafford over Fields. I mean, I have Stafford ranked at 7 in our quarterback rankings. Fields ranked at 8 this week. And then if we're going to be looking at Saquon, Brees, Ezekiel Elliott, it's tough. I mean, all these running backs are in horrendous offenses. All of them have very nice workloads. So I'm probably going to go Saquon and Brees Hall because I think they're in a similar spot. They're workhorses in horrendous offenses. So might as well just take the guy that's the most explosive at this point of their careers. Now, Omar says, hey, Mason, I started off the season 0-7, ended up winning out and clinched the 5th seed. I'm just happy to be in the playoffs at this point. I am not going to lie to you, my friend. If I started off 0-7, I would say deuces and I would have quit. Like, I mean, to stick with it and to be able to make it to the playoffs is absolutely incredible. Congrats, my friend. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. Joey says, didn't start White, so that sucks. Full BBR, should we start Samuel or Komet? Samuel has the better matchup. I'm assuming you're saying Curtis Samuel? What Samuel at tight end would you be talking about? Let me see if there's someone that I'm forgetting here. Every once in a while, I'm live streaming 232 days in a row, I will have a brain fart. And yeah, I'm pretty sure the only guy you'd be talking about is Curtis Samuel, because Deebo Samuel obviously start over Komet. I mean, I'd probably go, if you wanted to go Curtis Samuel over Komet, I'm not going to fault you whatsoever, just given how we would typically never really want to play a tight end in the flex spot in the first place, especially a tight end that's in a bad offense, that's in a very bad matchup as well. Now, Michael says, PBR, we got to start 1. Chandler, London, Downs, or Singletary. I'm going to go ahead. I will take Ty Chandler, getting every touch out of his backfield. Garrett says, Ferguson or McBride? We're going to go McBride, even in a tough matchup. Reem, H, Swift. How do you feel about Tyreek? Tyreek plays. I'm playing Tyreek. No hesitation. And then out of this list, we will go with Raheem Mostert with H being banged up. Austin says 36% Brian Robinson, 26% Christian Watson in my 31 tournaments. That is absolutely brutal, my man. I mean, maybe that's Bijan. If it makes you feel any better, my most drafted running back was Jonathan Taylor. It looks like I'm still going to have a profitable year in Underdog Best Ball drafts, primarily because our high stakes drafts, like we did $3,000 drafts on Underdog this year, and 2 of them I made to the fantasy football playoff tournament. So just when you get, I don't want to say lucky, but when you crush the high stakes drafts, it can make up for your most drafted guy being Jonathan Taylor at the running back position. But yeah, that is brutal. I'm sorry, my friend. I drafted a lot of Christian Watson as well. Now, Chase says, single flex, shallow start sit. Mahomes, Stafford, Gibbs, H.N. Brees, Walker, Zeke, Tyreek, Diggs, Ingram, McBride, Browns, Dallas. The waivers, we have the Rams. Worried about Mahomes, but opponent has Kelsey. So yeah, I have Mahomes and Stafford ranked back to back. Like, to be honest with you, if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to take Stafford over Mahomes, I'm not going to fault you for it at all. I think that is going to be primarily up to you in what direction that you want to be going with. Between Gibbs, H.N. Brees, Walker, Zeke, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Gibbs and Brees at this point with the H.N. injury. Wide receiver, we're going to be going with Diggs, Tyreek. For the flex, we can go back to the running back position. If H.N.'s good to go, we can go H.N. If he's not, we can go Walker. I'm sorry, we would go Zeke over Walker. And then tight end, we will go between Evan Ingram, Trey McBride. Both guys are very exciting. Both of them have very tough matchups. I think I probably just take Trey McBride over with Hollywood Brown still being somewhat banged up. And then the Rams DST is definitely one that you can pick up going up against Washington, just given how many sacks we see Sam Howell take from week to week perspective. Now, Jay says, awful week for me. JT Pacheco, Nico Collins out. Then Eckler did nothing. Last chance to move on is Odell or Ty Chandler. What are your thoughts? Thanks as always. No, thank you, my friend. I'm honestly not thinking too much about this. Ty Chandler is going to be used as a receiver, and he's going to get pretty much every single touch out of the backfield. I mean, you have the Madison injury, you have the Akers injury. He's the last guy standing there. So, I mean, I would be fine going through and starting Ty Chandler over Odell. I'd feel more comfortable with it. Lucky Leo says, with Olave being a game time decision, are we going to go Odell or Gabe Davis? I would go with a banged up Olave over both these guys. However, if I had to go through and if I had to pick between Odell and Gabe Davis, probably going to go ahead and take Odell with the target volume set with no Mark Andrews. Legger Niner says, 14-team at PBR, if active, a hobbled Olave or Romeo Doubs. I'm going to be going with a hobbled Olave over Romeo Doubs, even if you have no Christian Watson in this offense. Now, Jesse says, follow up, Schultz, Logan Thomas, or Tyler Higbee. I'm going to go with Logan Thomas now that you have no CJ Stroud. I mean, I could see the other side of this argument, however, right? Like, if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to say, well, Mason, we know that the backup quarterback, Davis Mills, is going to come and lean on the tight end. You have no Tank Dell. You have no Nico Collins. I understand if you want to go Stroud. I mean, I'm just not excited about the offense at all. Now, you're kidding coming out. Says, love you. Always happy to see you, my friend. Antonio Gibson or Devin Singletary. Here, honestly, it's not even close for me. I'm going to go Antonio Gibson. We know Gibson's going to be involved as a receiver. And at the same time, I mean, he's in a great matchup here going up against the Rams in which should be a higher scoring game. You have no Brian Robinson. I think the Washington offense is going to be a lot better here than what we have with the Texans. So I will go with Gibson. Now, Senior English is full BBR down 24 against Devontae Adams. I'm injury plagued. Choose two running backs in a flex between Hall, Achane, Spears, Singletary, Goddard. EH and Keaton Mitchell on waiver wire. I don't know who EH is. Okay, we're going to go with Hall and Achane. Then for our flex, we'll most likely go... Who's EH? Probably... full BBR. We'll go... Oh my gosh, this is gross. We'll go Singletary. I mean, I'm not too excited about Spears this week, considering the fact... Oh, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If it's CEH, we're going to go CEH. Yeah, go Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Tajay Spears, I don't think you can be too excited about going up against Houston. If they have no Stroud, if they have no Nico, I mean, it's going to be very hard for them to be competitive. I think it's a Henry game. Now, Elias says, forgot to add Chandler to the questions. Ty or CEH? I would probably go Ty Chandler over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. CEH has a bad matchup, and he'll be in a committee where Chandler's just going to get everything. Now, Roy says, should we start Javonte or wait for Achane, Spears, Charbonnet on the bench? I would just start Javonte. I'd play it safe. And then start Browning over Tua. No, I'm going to go Tua even in a tough matchup. We have Tyreek and Chase worried about Tua. I completely understand to be worried. I'm still going to start him, though. Now, Foggy coming out says, so I'm starting Laporte and St. Brown. Do we start Gibbs or Moss since I'm starting two Lions already? I'm not super concerned about that, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I think that I personally probably go Gibbs in a full PPR format. If it was a non-PPR league, I definitely think you make an argument for Moss over Gibbs, though. Now, Lucky Leo says, Javonte, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or McKinnon. We're going to go Javonte. I don't think this one's too close either, my friend. Dominic says, Levis or Kyler. We're going to go Kyler despite the tough matchup. He has rushing upside. Schultz with no Stroud or Frymuth. Probably go Dalton Schultz. Deontay or Addison, since Olave is questionable for the Sunday game still. I would go with a hobbled Olave over either one of these guys, but if I had to pick between Deontay and Addison, I'm going to go Deontay. And then, yes, if we played Eckler, we're shooting for the ceiling at this point. I'm sorry, my friend. Now, Kevin says, love the channel. Thank you for all the videos this season. Let's go to the playoffs. So thank you so much, my friend. Play two, Zeke, Walker, Gibson, Chandler. We are going to go ahead. I'm going to take Zeke, and between Walker, Gibson, if it's a full PBR format, I think you make an argument for Antonio Gibson, just given the fact that he will have the receiving work. But I don't know. Obviously, Walker's just so much of a better player. I think Gibson's going to come out here and have a very good week, though. Now, Rove with Us says start 2, Smith, Brees, Sutton. I'm going to go ahead. I will take Brees and Smith. And then in a half PPR format, Lamar, Purdy. Both quarterbacks look phenomenal. 4-point passing touchdown format. You prefer the rushing upside a little bit with Lamar. To be honest with you, though, I'm probably going to go Purdy regardless. I think you probably just need to go Purdy. Irvin says Aaron Jones if healthy or Chuba Hubbard in a full PPR format. If you have no A.J. Dillon, I'm going to go Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon play together, I'm going to go Chuba Hubbard. Ron says PBR, Javonte or Amari in the flex. I'm going to go Javonte. DF says pick 2, Zeke, Chandler, Amari, McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Aaron Jones. We're going to go with Zeke and Amari if it's a full PPR format. If a non-PPR, we'll go Zeke and Chandler. We're already starting Pollard, White, Chase, Pittman. Yeah, phenomenal team at PPR format. I think it's really going to come down to what you want between Chandler and Amari at this point. Now, Funky B Money says hook up 13-point favorite. We need running back and wide receivers for weeks 16 and 17. I am very sorry for you, my friend. At this point, I would not be able to call out any waiver wire options for the next 2 weeks before we see what happens this week that I think would be better than what you already have on your roster. So I am sorry, but I probably don't have much for you here. Now, Adolfo says, Hogan Moritz Basin, it's my first year playing fantasy and I'm in the playoffs. Help me with the lineup in a half PPR format. Lamar, Puka, Debo, Kamara, Chandler, Laporta, Beckham. The bench is Love, Keaton, Addison, McKinnon, Noah Brown, and Gibson's on the waiver wire. 100%, my man. I think you need to go through. I think you need to drop one of these guys and pick up Antonio Gibson. I don't care if you drop Noah Brown for Gibson. I don't care if you drop Odell Beckham Jr. for Gibson. You drop one of those players, you go get Antonio Gibson, and you play Antonio Gibson over Odell. Outside of that, I think that there's not too much else that you would be looking to do. I mean, maybe if we could find an option over Ty Chandler would be the next guy that we would get out of this lineup. But the primary thing that I feel confident in telling you to do is starting Antonio Gibson over Odell, my friend. Luglio says the Rams, Browns, or Jets DST. Probably the Browns going up against Chicago. Now, okay, just give me 1 second to find our next question. And as I do this, let me remind you, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog, promo code FLOCK, get you 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. A Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. And my favorite pick'em for this weekend is going to be with the Baltimore Ravens. And I know y'all are going to hate me for this, but it's my favorite. Keaton Mitchell for fewer than 9.5 rushing attempts. He has not hit 10 rushing attempts in any game ever in his NFL career. So I like it. I like it. Justice Hill played more snaps this past week. Now, Senior English says Goff or Browning, we need upside. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Jared Goff. I know Browning's been great for 2 weeks. I mean, it's maybe a little bit of the Joshua Dobbs effect where you see the backup quarterback be able to come in and have success. But when defensive coordinators can get tape, then maybe it's a little bit of a different story. Now, NJB says Puka, Chase, Evans, Gibson, Walker. We got a bench too. Love the channel. Appreciate you, my friend. Full BBR format. I think we're going to be benching both running backs and Gibson and Walker. We honestly bench those 2 guys regardless. Yeah, I was going to say non-BBR format. Maybe we pivot over with one of the receivers. But no, I think you're probably going to be... I think you're probably chilling as is. Now, Lord Farquaad says, if Keenan plays, play him over Odell, Rice, or Zeke. I would play Keenan over Odell if Keenan's good to go next week. I would go Keenan over Odell. Now, You Kidding says, love you again. Always happy to see you. Mahomes or Kyler? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes. You have an 18-point implied team total going up against the Niners for Kyler Murray. Now, with that being said, I think you can make an argument. Well, Mason, you only have a 23-point implied team total for the Chiefs. And at the same time, obviously it is a spot where Kyler has rushing upside where Mahomes typically doesn't. He has rushing upside, but he doesn't hit it every week. So I understand where you're coming from with the Mahomes hesitation. I know a lot of people are trying to get off Mahomes with how he's been over the past few weeks. I just don't know if we can pivot to someone like Kyler for him, at least going up against the Niners. Now, Peg Birdman says, Happy BR, Gibson, Connor, or DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to go Antonio Gibson relatively easily, my friend. Chris says, Happy BR, we have some running back questions. Need 2 to start and 1 in the flex. James Cook, Najee, Chuba, and Ty Chandler. I'm going to be going with James Cook, Chuba Hubbard, and Ty Chandler as the running backs dominating touches in their respective backfields, where you still have Najee Harris split in the backfield with Warren. Lucky Leo says start Javonte or Antonio Gibson. I'm going to go Javonte, given the good matchup that we have going up against the Detroit Lions, but it is very close. I'm really excited about Gibson this week. Nick says full BBR, Reed or Flowers, also the Niners defense or the Saints. I'm going to go Flowers over Reed. It's been great with no Mark Andrews. And then I'm going to be going with the Niners defense because they are the Niners and they're like 12, 13-point favorites. Now, Gio Got Banned says pick 1 for wide receiver 2. Higgins, Shaheed, Zay Jones, Curtis Samuel. It's a full point PPR. Got screwed by the Kirk and Tank Dell injuries. Zay Jones had 14 targets last week. It was a game that Lawrence had like 55 passing attempts. So I don't want to take too much from it, but still it was very exciting. If Zay Jones had a better matchup, not going up against the Ravens, then I think we would honestly maybe say Zay Jones with no Christian Kirk. But I think we probably just have to go ahead and take T. Higgins and just take the big play upside. Now, Trent Fletcher Music, long time no see. Hope you're doing well, my friend. March 15th, we're playing the rodeo in Austin. Hell yes, my man. I'm going to take a screenshot of this and send it to my girlfriend right now. Just give me 1 second. Sending it to her because I am embarrassing when it comes to remembering anything that has nothing to do with fantasy football. Okay. She'll remember. Thank you so much, my friend. I will. I'm thinking off the top of my head, there's zero reason we would not be able to go. Zero reason we would not be able to go. But sit 2. Walker, Montgomery, Javonte Moss, Henry, Hollywood, likely. For sure we're sitting likely here, my man. That's not even close. So we really got to sit 1 between Walker, Montgomery, Javonte Moss, Henry, Hollywood. I think Henry's probably someone that we have to play now that you have no Stroud, no Nico Collins. I think they can run the ball a little bit more in the second half. I think that they are going to have that lead there. So we probably go ahead and bench Hollywood as well, with Hollywood still dealing with the heel injury and it being a tough matchup going up against the Niners. And then sit 2 between Javonte, Rice, Ridley. I actually think Ridley's going to be better going forward. Yeah, the target volume with no Kirk this past week. Just a tough matchup going up against the Ravens. So I'm probably going to be benching Rice and Ridley there, my friend. Now, Roy says, should I pivot off to Flacco if you have no Tyreek? It's a very tough matchup against the Jets. Tyreek is obviously such a big reason why this offense finds success. So I completely understand if you would. To be honest with you, if it was my own team, I would not have the confidence to play Joe Flacco. I would not have that kind of confidence. Funky B Money says, what are your top 13 favorite receivers and running backs for a full PPR format? I just uploaded our flex rankings today, which should be pretty damn close to accurate, my friend. I promise you'd be able to get more from that. But Jason says, PBR, Tua, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Najee, Gibson, DJ Moore, McBride. And then on the bench, Achane, Aaron Jones, Keaton, Reed, Noah Brown. Should we be worried about Diggs? Should we pivot to Reed? I'm not worried about Diggs at all. This is still a wide receiver commanding volume. This is still someone in a very good offense. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to still run the course with Stephon Diggs with no hesitation. The only thing I'd potentially switch here is if Achane's good to go, I'd start Achane over Najee. Even a hobbled Achane. Now, Sean says team is Hurts, CMC, Allen, Laporta, Moss, London, Smith, Rice, Aubrey. Aubrey carrying us, my friend. The bench is Connor, Lockett, Jones, Hal, Connor, Zay Jones, Kirk on the IR. Who should we start in the first week of the playoffs? Thanks. Thank you, my friend. If we were to swap anything here, it would be to take out Drake London. Say we would move Rice to the wide receiver slot, London out of the starting lineup, Aaron Jones into the flex. But we only do that under a very certain circumstance. If you have no A.J. Dillon in this game and Aaron Jones is good to go, then we go ahead and play Aaron Jones over Drake London. However, if A.J. Dillon's good to go and we're expecting it to be a split backfield, then we're probably not going to make that swap, and we probably just leave the lineup how you already have it, my friend. Now, Anonymous says a 14-team happy BR for the flex. Foreman, Down, Charbonnet, C-Rod, Pop, or Frymuth. I'm assuming that's Chris Rodriguez. And if that's Chris Rodriguez, I'm just going to go Deonta Foreman, who looked like the starting running back last week for the Bears. I'm not excited about it at all, though, because he is splitting this backfield three ways. Joel says, hey, dude, need one full PPR format. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ford, Singletary, and Mitchell. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Jerome Ford. Not a super big Ford guy, especially as we have Kareem Hunt still stealing touches in the red zone. But I mean, at least he is the one guy on that list that is seeing the majority of the work in his backfield, where you're not splitting with two other guys. Now, Trini says, hey, Mason, pick two. Brown, Flowers, Amari, Odell, Dobbs. I'm going to be going with Flowers and Amari. And then two between Pollard, Swift, Warren, Mitchell. We're going to go Pollard, Swift. No, don't play Dobbs over Amari or Flowers. I mean, Flowers has just been so damn good if you're looking at what you have since the Andrews injury. Since Andrews has gone down, Flowers has been seeing consistent volume. Now, Chris says, Lawrence or Kyler this week and why? Appreciate you. Appreciate you, my friend. Both are in very tough matchups. Kyler going up against the Niners, where you have an 18-point implied team total for the Cardinals. Lawrence going up against the Ravens, where you have a 19.75 point implied team total for the Jags. So both offenses should struggle. I have Kyler ranked ahead of Lawrence because Kyler has been much better all year from a fantasy football perspective. And Kyler has the rushing upside. So both offenses can fail with it being a bad matchup. I mean, bad matchups. But if both offenses fail, I would say that you most likely have more success coming to the quarterback that's going to run the ball at least. Now, Beast Mode says 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Rice, H, Sutton. I prefer a good floor. We have CMC, Brees, and Jamar and Smith all starting. Hopkins is someone that I would say that we probably are looking at before Stroud's ruled out. Now that Stroud's out, I'm not as excited about it, given the fact that if you have no Stroud here, I mean, I don't really know. It's going to be a situation where they're probably just able to run the ball in the second half, right? So I think, honestly, if you are only caring about the floor, we go Rice. If Achan's going to go, I'm playing Achan, though. Now, Jakey says, how much of a stud is Debo? Debo's freaking nuts. I mean, if you look at his underdog pick him right now, they have him at like 80 total yards. They have him well ahead of Brandon Ayuk. The per game numbers are thrown off a ton, though, obviously, given the injury earlier in the year. Now, Joaquin says, Mason, my man, been a minute. Always happy to see you. 14 injuries advanced to the postseason, Underdog. Thanks for all the advice. 20% advance rate overall. Very happy. That is incredible, my friend. I am very happy for you. Very happy for you. That is a better advance rate than what I had in Best Ball Mania this year. Best Ball Mania was a little bit underwhelming, at least definitely compared to last season. But we should get saved from our high stakes teams, especially now that Nico Collins has been ruled out. That's actually going to help us advance those easy, at least easier than otherwise. But congrats, my friend. I am happy for you. Now, Peter says, pick a receiver and a flex. DJ Moore, Puka, Hopkins, Moss, and Achan. I'm going to go with Puka in a great matchup. And honestly, between Moss, DJ Moore, I think it's very, very close. If it is a non-PBR format, I'm probably going to go ahead and take Zach Moss. In a full BBR format, I don't know. I'm probably going to go ahead and take Moss and Puka. I think you can make an argument to go Moss and DJ Moore. I could go back and forth between DJ Moore and Puka. I'm just getting more and more sold on this matchup going up against the Washington Commanders. But I think that's all I have for this live stream. Again, thank you so much, everybody hanging out with us on Friday night. Really do appreciate y'all. And I'll be live tomorrow morning running through all the last minute injury updates that we have as well. So yeah, I hope I get to see you there. Really hope that you're able to crush this week. Two things. One, I am back to uploading pretty much daily videos on the Dynasty Football Flock YouTube channel. I understand most of y'all don't care about fantasy football in the offseason, so I will not be posting on this channel at all. I won't be live streaming. I won't be uploading videos, but I talk fantasy football year round. I mean, I got started on YouTube with Dynasty Fantasy Football. It's my favorite way to play. So if you play in a keeper league, if you play in a dynasty league, I'm sure you probably already know, but if you were interested in hanging out with us through the course of the offseason, you can just search Dynasty Football Flock on YouTube, and that's how you could get there. And yeah, if not, completely understand if you're saying, Mason, come on, man. Fantasy football is meant to be in the season. But if you wanted to check out any of these pick'ems over on Underdog, you can find that link in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK will get you 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Lamar Jackson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. My favorite pick'em for this weekend is going to be Keaton Mitchell for fewer than 9.5 rushing attempts. I know y'all probably don't like it, but he has never had a game in his entire NFL career with 10 rushing attempts. The lower has always hit here. So I'm going to be going with lower than 9.5. But Scar Shiesty says Lawrence or Kyler this week. I'm going to go Kyler given the rushing upside. Both quarterbacks are in a very tough spot. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. I really hope that you have a great night. And I really hope we get to see you tomorrow or on Sunday.